Hey everyone, I'm Jeff Teague with Fred Anderson Toyota, and we've got Ali, the Master Diagnostic Technician, your Toyota Answer Man. So, how's it going today?
Going great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Today we're going to talk hybrid batteries. We just filmed a video on how much does it cost to replace an entire hybrid battery, but we got something else up our sleeve. What do you want to tell the world?
I'd like to let you know how to make the life of this battery extend. We have customers that go over 200,000 miles that don't need to replace it. The most important thing is temperature management on these batteries. They get too cold, like any battery, they get sick. They get too hot, like any battery, they get sick. So try to keep the battery in a tepid environment, 80, 90 degrees if you can help it. I know that's not possible all the time. In the summer, when you park in the vehicle, if you don't have a covered area, try to park it in a shade, under a tree, to keep it a little bit cooler than it normally is. If you can garage it, fantastic.
Okay, and what about when it's cold outside? Try to keep it in the garage, or?
If you can keep it in the garage, not everybody can. I have a garage and all I have in it is junk.
Sounds like everybody.
If you can't keep it in the garage, when you start it, first thing, warm the vehicle a little bit before you drive. Vehicle has this thing called battery management system, which makes sure that the battery stays warm or cold. It uses a fan to cool it when it gets hot. It tries to keep it tepid environment as much as it can help.
Okay.
But if you cannot actually do that, if you cannot park anywhere, try to park in a place where temperature is not as effective on your battery as it would be.
And the tips that you were giving, this is on a hybrid battery. This would be for a 2009 or a 2009 Prius, right?
Yes.
But you could see a hybrid battery in anything that has the word hybrid in it, right? It could be any model,
Absolutely.
any brand.
Yes.
And that would be, there's a 12-volt battery that goes for starting the vehicle and running some of the electrical, right?
Yes, every hybrid battery does have a 12-volt battery in it to run all the electricals, for the computers, for the dome light, for the radio, and all that.
Okay, and the hybrid battery, what's its main function here? The big giant hybrid battery that everybody wonders, what is it, what's it do, and how much, that kind of stuff.
One of the most important thing that the hybrid battery does is when you stop the car, the gasoline engine stops running. On all other cars, the gasoline engine is still idling and using gas and causing pollution. A hybrid engine, when you start it, at first it runs only on battery to bring you up to a certain speed. Those are lower speeds. Once you go past that speed, the hybrid battery will join with the gasoline engine to bring the speed up to where it needs to. Also, the hybrid battery has a very important function energetically, that whenever you try to stop or coast to a slow, it uses the kinetic energy of the vehicle to put electricity back into the battery so you don't lose all that energy. The most important thing that the hybrid battery does is saves energy for when you're idling, when you're braking, and it saves money. It saves gasoline engine from running. It also extends the gasoline engine's life because it's not running all the time.
That's interesting. And you know, with the hybrid too, if you've never owned one before, or maybe you're a new driver to a hybrid, they sound like they completely stalled at a traffic light a lot of times. And you had mentioned that already, the gasoline engine, it shuts down.
They do. We have some hybrids that are required to make noise at a slow speed so blind people can know where they are.
Oh yeah, you've probably heard those on the inside of the vehicles and the outside of the vehicles. You'll hear that, or when they're backing up. So
yes,
absolutely, that makes total sense. So what are some other tips to make this one run and last as long as possible?
We already covered temperature control. Every one of these battery has a fan. This fan uses the air that's inside the car to cool the battery, to give it the proper temperature. A lot of folks, this fan goes to an intake, sometime in the back seat. In the latest model hybrid Siennas, it's in the front, driver's side. On most Priuses, it's in the back, some in the center of the back seat, some in the right corner, C-pillar.
And when you see the intake, that would be like a vent, like a grate almost.
It looks like a vent. And you also know that it's doing what it is. If you look at it, it has grades on it, and you can feel the air going in every time the hybrid battery is, every time the vehicle is on.
So that vent there, that would be very important because it helps to cool the battery.
Yes, as we had a deal with the Camrys. Their intake was in the luggage rack all the way in the back, and some folks were covering that with a plush toy or something, and the batteries would run hot. We've had customers that bring these vehicles in with battery running hot, and it does send you a note in the instrument cluster, says battery is running hot, you're doing something wrong, or battery is depleting. What's going on is a lot of time I've seen these really light plastic bags, like the Walmart bags.
Oh yeah, like Walmart or Target.
If you have an empty one in the back that's loose, as soon as this battery goes in, it'll suck that bag right against
Almost
the intake.
like if you put something too close to a vacuum, it'll suck it up and hold it there.
It does, and it blocks all the intake. And since the job of this guy over here is to cool the battery, he can no longer do it. This fan is running hot, the battery is going to run hot, and you will shorten the life of the battery when it's not cooled properly.
So I would say on road trips, then you would want to make sure that it doesn't have blankets or toys or pillows covering it for long periods of time, right? That could be an easy way.
Yeah, you just said something that brought another one. If you have a pet and you have one of those pet blankets in the back,
Yes.
that hang all the way to the floor, you have to make sure that it's not covering any of the vents.
Oh, that's really interesting. How about some more tips?
Sure. Proper maintenance. Proper maintenance is oil change, filters, anything that makes your gasoline engine run better. It helps the hybrid battery also.
Oh, that's interesting.
One of the most important thing on any car, even not non-hybrids, is tire pressures. Make sure you have the proper tire pressure. If the tires are low, it's causing extra stress on the engine, it's causing extra stress on a hybrid battery, on the electric motor. These batteries should be charged from 20% to 80%. 20% is mainly because we don't want the battery to totally die because the vehicle is not going to start. 80%, one of the reasons for it is we don't want the battery 100% charged. And the other one is we have a little bit of room on top for regenerative brake. If the battery is 100% charged, you can't put nothing else back in it.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That
So-
makes total sense.
As you're driving the car, you can see the bars going up and down and how much you have on the battery. And sometimes if you have a lot of braking, you find out that your battery is fully charged and it won't take any more charge, which is not an issue, but you're no longer putting energy back from kinetic issues to electric issues.
Yeah, and you can see that display either on the multimedia under vehicle settings. I think it's
I think
hybrid
it's
info
called
or-
vehicle information.
Yeah, it's on vehicle info or vehicle information, and you can also see that a lot of times smaller scale on the digital gauge cluster or the multi-information display behind the steering wheel, that digital gauge cluster.
I recommend that you go into your instrument cluster
Yeah.
and trying to change things around. See what all is available. You may surprise yourself to see something you haven't seen before.
Yeah, that's a great tip. What else you got for us?
Gentle driving.
Gentle driving. Sounds nice.
Yeah, I haven't seen that around Raleigh, but yes. Not heavy acceleration, not heavy deceleration. I keep bringing this up to every one of my hybrid customers. Drive the car normal. Don't bother yourself with, I'm driving a hybrid, how do I do all of this? But don't drive it crazy. Just get in the car and drive it like a normal car. And if you don't have a lit foot, your battery does last longer. And if you don't apply the brakes too hard, because when you apply the brakes too hard, you're not charging the battery. Everything goes into the hydraulic system with the normal braking.
How about a final tip, Ali?
Sure. Avoid long idles. Also, all hybrid vehicles have a compressor that runs on a high voltage system. They do not have a belt-driven compressor like a normal vehicle. If you're stopped and idling for a long time, you're using the hybrid battery to run that compressor. Avoid long idles. Avoid running the vehicle with a long idle with the AC on to extend the life on a hybrid battery.
So what about if you're on your lunch break and you're just sitting there, you've got the car running, and you got the AC on because it's hot in North Carolina? I probably shouldn't do that so much anymore if I want to keep that battery lasting longer.
Yeah, it's not going to kill the car,
Right.
but if you're concerned about extending the life on the battery, that is not a good thing to do.
Right, and I think we can all understand that a hybrid battery is not inexpensive to replace, so why wouldn't you want to make it as, as long lasting as possible?
Even though that's true, I keep telling my customers, treat it like a normal car. If you want to get in your car and enjoy yourself with your lunch in your car, do it. But be aware that if you can help running the compressor shorter, do so.
That is true, because I get a lot of questions where people say, well, what's the differences between a hybrid vehicle and a gasoline vehicle? As far as maintenance, there's not really that much different as far as maintenance of a hybrid vehicle, is there?
Hybrids are a lot less maintenance hungry. It makes a really, really good idea for you to check your intakes all the time. A lot of time, if you have a dog, if you have a lot of, we have this with taxis, where a lot of different people sit in it.
Yeah.
And all the fuzz from the different folks. If you have a pet that normally travels in the car, will clog the intake for the cooling fan and allow the battery to get a little bit hotter than it should.
Oh, well, that's really interesting. Thank you so much for the tips. We really appreciate it. I'll put a playlist of all of your Ask the Technician videos that we've done over the years. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Ali. And you can find Fred Anderson Toyota on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. Thanks, Ali. Any tips for the world?
You're welcome, Jeff. Stay out of the shop.